All right, guys, let's get started. But I don't, so like, all right, I guess I'll handle it after this. It's weird.
Told me to bring that back down. Something tells me it's already gonna be that day today.
No.
It's a checkpoint.
Okay, I can't believe she didn't take this. All right, guys, so let's get started.
Pterodactyl. It's a pterodactyl.
All right, guys, voices off. Let's get started. So, no, yes. All right. So I gave you a bunch of papers back. I gave you your quiz if you made it up. You didn't get it back if you didn't take it on Friday. But I gave back all the makeup quizzes. So that went pretty well. Most people raised their grade. Yeah, so that kind of worked out. Some people are still struggling with it. And those are the people who I would encourage to consider tutoring. Online kids, y'all can also, we can do Zoom tutoring as well, just to be clear. All right, we are starting chapter 5. So it's not just going to be a review week of us going through the vocab slowly. We're going to start on a new chapter. It's the 5th week, so it's about time for chapter 5. From here on out, we'll probably spend about 2 weeks per chapter. And so I gave you your homework on Wednesday, and I gave you what I call a summary sheet. It says chapter 5 in a nutshell. Quinque Induque. That is where you're going to have like your kind of guide to the chapter. We're going to write down a bunch of information on there today that'll help you for the next 2 weeks. So it, along with your noun chart, your verb chart, and your vocab refresher sheets are your resources. You should be getting out some of those every single day. So we're going to fill out this summary for most of class, and then it'll be time for just getting into chapter 5. We're going to spend 2 weeks with it. On Wednesday, the first side of the handout is due. So that is 5 translations. Just like it was a couple weeks ago, it's you're translating and you're also filling in a blank about certain words. I hope we're getting more used to like what number and case and function means. Keep using your noun and verb charts when you do your homework especially, but that is due Wednesday. Hello, Antonio. Antonio, did you want a hot lunch? Okay, so that's Antonio too. All right. Okay. Let's see here. All right. So everyone has their homework and the summary sheets. Everyone has those things. All right. Let's go over the quiz just one more time. We've talked about these sentences like multiple times, but there's still people who are not quite absorbing some of this information. So this is our last chance to enjoy a chapter 4 sentence before fully moving on. Remember, guys, we had our subject, puelli, girls, as the first noun. It agrees with our third person plural verb at the end. And then what we need to do in our translation is kind of move the verb between the subject and the direct object. That's the thing we'll be doing a lot in Latin. So you need to be really comfortable with that. So it's the girls, not just the girls, comma, the teacher. It's the girls warn the teacher. And then we have 2 prepositional phrases about the evil plan. A lot of people like vocab issues with that. They thought concilio was something else. Maybe it was like conservo, the verb. But it is the evil plan. Concilio means plan. And then without delay. That is another prepositional phrase. We have an ablative object of the preposition sine. It's great. Let's see. What did people... So people mostly did good with telling me that magistrum was accusative direct object and that mora was an ablative. But some people thought mora was a nominative still because it has the A ending. But this is a long A. It's an ablative A, not a nominative. So that mora was ablative. It's the object of sine. Our subject was puelli. That's the only nominative word in the sentence. The second one, the foolish man, stultus vir. That's tricky just because they don't look like they have the same ending, but they technically do have nominative, singular, masculine endings. So they go together, and that's our subject. The man is the subject, not just the man, but the foolish man. And he praises the evil, that's an adjective, but it's a direct object, of war. So every little word is doing something here, right? Stultus is agreeing in case, number, and gender with the noun modifying. What adjectives do? Mala is an adjective, which is tricky because it's also the direct object, and that's weird.
And then it's not just evil wars or something like that, because belly is genitive. It's not the same case as mala, so it has to be the evil or the bad of war. And again, removing the verb up. A lot of people, for part of speech, we're going to go over parts of speech, because people really struggle with that. I asked for the part of speech of mala, and people would give me a case or a function and not a part of speech. So we're going to brush up on part of speech one last time. And then what else? Most people knew belly was genitive. Some people thought it was nominative plural. But remember, we're is our subject. It's the foolish man verbs something. So he's the subject. Belly can't also be a nominative plural. Praises the evil of war. And why is it of war, Macy? Because belly is what case? Where's the of coming from? It's coming from the fact that belly is what case? Anyone? Carson?
It's genitive.
Yeah, it's in my genitive pink color, and it's possessive of the adjective in front of it. Exactly. All right, let's review this real quick. A lot of people still, like I was just saying, people get thrown off when I say part of speech, and they forget what that means. This is just a grammar thing in general. It's not a Latin thing. It's in every language. Languages are made up of different parts of speech. That's like categories for words. Words occupy one of these like 6, 7 categories in the grammar of any language. So we know nouns. I'm pretty sure y'all are comfortable with nouns. A lot of people told me mala was a noun, but if you think of the word bad or evil, that's an adjective. It's a describing word. So, but we'll get to adjectives in a second. So nouns are like people, places, and things. And the thing about Latin nouns is that they have these endings. That is what we were practicing all last week, trying to remember the first 2 declensions. We'll do that again soon, because some people were getting really close to both declensions. But the case endings in Latin and in Spanish and in other Romance languages, they tell us what the noun is actually doing in a sentence. Whereas English like relies on word order to convey meaning. We don't change our noun endings, but we do kind of change our pronoun endings. But nouns are either subjects. It's like the easiest, most basic kind of noun. Subject does a verb. Okay, the teacher, subject, teaches. It's a very simple sentence with a subject and a verb. Possessive nouns, that's when something belongs to another noun. So the pencil of the possessive student. Pencil would be the subject in the sentence, and student would be possessive. And so of is the way we translate it genitive. We get the of out of the fact we understand that a noun is genitive in Latin. It's kind of like their version of an apostrophe S, right? A direct object, that's another easy core noun function. Okay, if a subject verbs a noun, that second noun is a direct object. I eat the hamburger, I eat the direct object. Indirect object, that is like less indirectly or less directly tied to the verb. That's like when I give a direct object to an indirect object. So we use the preposition to. The subject is a direct object to the indirect object. And then we have an object of a preposition that's like under the roof, inside the building, around a student, whatever it might be. So part of that is just getting used to what prepositions are. That's another part of speech. But ours right now are just in, sine, and de, right? So in the house. House would be an object of a preposition. Without, a pencil. Pencil is an object of a prep. And from or about, danger. De periculo. All right, verb, very, very easy. In Latin, they're kind of hard, and we're about to expand on what verbs do in Latin with their endings. Right now, we just have OSG must assent. We're about to kind of expand that a little bit. Second-year students will remember it. First-year students are going to do fine with it. It's really easy, but we're going to talk about verb tense today, meaning if a verb happens in the present tense, the past tense, or the future tense, basically. Adjectives are easy, but I feel like some people like kind of maybe they mix it up with the word adverb. But these are just like descriptive words, right? Like good or bad or evil or fast or slow or tall or short. These different descriptive words that usually modify nouns. Every once in a while, as in that second quiz translation, they can be nouns actually. They kind of function as nouns. But we can still tell when they're like technically adjectives based on their dictionary entry, like what the word is. So in Latin, it's kind of handy. They usually end the exact same way as a noun go. But also in that second translation sentence, we saw an example of when that doesn't always happen. Stultus, weir. Stultus is nominative singular masculine. It's just that weir is one of the 3 second declension nouns that we have that don't end in US. So they didn't look like they went together, but they actually did. But most of the time right now, for at least a few more chapters, they're going to like look like they go together. Bonus to scipulus, US endings, right? Bona to scipula, A endings, feminine endings. Yeah, and this is an example of the one that didn't look the same, unfortunately. So you got to be a little careful. All right, we're almost done with parts of speech. We got prepositions. Okay, these are words that I think most people like, even if at some point you know them, it's the kind of thing you forget over like a summer break. And you're like, what's a preposition? I have no idea. They're just these words that express a relationship between a noun and something else. It's often spatial, having to do with the space that something occupies, whether it's in something or on something or under something or behind or after. That's all like spatial relations, right? It can also be like time-based relations, like before, after, always, often, right? Sorry, not always, often. Those are adverbs. I don't know why I said that. But before, after, during, those are prepositions. And the ones we have right now, like this is all you need to know preposition-wise. Stay, see, nay, no. That's it. We're getting one preposition this chapter, which is kind of scary, but it's not that bad. But these all take ablative objects. That's like what the ablative does. It's the object of one of these three words. So you only mess with an ablative when you see day, see, nay, or in. Yep.
Will we be able to do a retake? That's very
I'm-
musical.
I might offer one more retake. So maybe I haven't really thought about that. I was kind of gonna cut off the retakes a little bit, like the forced retakes. But yeah, you could probably take it one more time this week. And then from here on out, if you fail a quiz, it's on you to tell me you want to retake it. Retakes are always an option, but I'm not like I have been doing. I've been like making you guys do them. That way we're all starting the year off with like a pretty high GPA. But anyway, you can take it one more time this week. Just tell me when you want to take it, or maybe take it during essay. All right, well, this is like the last one. I think adverbs. This is easy. They're really easy in Latin. In Latin, we only have sipe, semper, hodie, and non. I'm pretty sure that's all we have right now. So often, always, today, and not. All of those are adverbs. You might not like totally understand why they're adverbs, but it's because they modify verbs. That's what adverbs usually do. They can modify other adverbs and adjectives as well. So often in English, it's just taking an adjective and adding y or ly at the end. So happy is an adjective, whereas happily is an adverb. Sad is an adjective describing words. Sadly is an adverb because you would like do something sadly, where it's modifying do, the verb. Does that kind of make sense? Y'all think y'all understand adverbs? We only got 4. So we got like what, 3 prepositions, 4 as of today, 5 adverbs. We have a bunch of adjectives. That's the thing to watch out for. In chapter 4, they give us like 10 adjectives. So we have like a bunch of those already. We have like evil, good, foolish, greedy. Is that it? No, there's like more. But I can list them soon. All right, I think that's it. Remember, there's no articles in Latin. Like the and we have to supply those on our own. All right, verb tense. I think we've gotten pretty comfortable with this. This is chapter 1 stuff, and you guys have done pretty good with it. It's still a new thing for English speakers to get used to looking at the end of a verb to understand if it agrees with the subject or what kind of subject it agrees with. But I think y'all are getting pretty good at that. So this chapter, we're going to expand on that. So it's kind of a chance for us to like keep practicing looking at verb endings and being very detail oriented. That's what Latin translating is all about. It's about being detail oriented, like really focusing on every little detail. So in English, we don't have to conjugate our verbs, meaning the thing in Latin where you change the ending to O or S or T or must or to. We don't really do that in English, but we do it a little bit. Look at third person singular. So we say I verb, like I teach, you teach. But if we say he or she, you have to add an S. He teaches. We don't say she teach. She teaches. So that might seem really minor, and y'all don't think about it when you do that. But when you do that, you are technically conjugating the verb a little bit to make it agree with the subject. So apparently in English, verbs have to get an S at the end to agree with third person singular. So it's not just Latin. It's just Latin does it all the time. And then like we teach, y'all teach, they teach. So it's just the subject changing to reflect the person and number. It's not the verb ending in English. But in Latin, it is the verb ending. In English, we have the future tense. Every language has the future tense. The way we express the future tense in English is just with this helping verb will. That's it. It's a dude's name that makes a verb become the future tense. We just put that between the subject and the verb, and then bam, that's the future tense. Does everybody feel like they understand that? Like, it's pretty straightforward, right? It's kind of nice. I mean, that's all they're changing, is they're adding this word will, and then bam, they got the future tense. Macy, do you have a question?
Like Will Byers.
Say it again?
Like Will Byers from Stranger Things.
Oh, right, yeah. Think of that helps you. Yeah, that show's got futuristic stuff in it. So,
Oh yeah, I finished. To finish it.
wow. But yeah, so Latin, like instead of using helping verbs, like English always just uses helping verbs to like change the way a verb is working. But Latin, it does that with it does it with the verb ending itself. So okay, we also have the past tense. This is technically the past continuous tense. It turns out there's like two different past tenses. Does everybody know what I mean by past tense? So that's like the opposite of future. It's not something that you're going to do. It's something that you were doing or that you did. So in English, they express this tense with was and were. I was teaching. You were teaching. And see how I'm adding the ing ending to the verb. So it's not just a helping verb. It actually is an ending. Just like in Latin using endings, English is using an ending there. I was verbing. You were verbing. He, she was verbing. So notice that it goes from was to were to was. Not something y'all think about. It's just something you do because you grow up speaking good English. And then on the plural side, it's were. We were verbing, y'all were verbing, they were verbing. Because we don't say we was verbing. We don't say y'all was verbing. We don't say you was verbing. So were has to be the helping verb for four of these guys. But that, again, that's not something y'all even think about. You don't really need to think about that. I'm just like pointing it out. Okay, and then one like this is kind of cool, but sorry. One kind of cool thing about, no, not cool actually, is that we're going to call this the imperfect tense. And that's going to confuse you a little bit, but when I say imperfect tense, I basically mean past tense. It's just that like in chapter 12, there's another past tense. It's called the perfect tense in Latin. In English, it's just called simple past. But so this is the past continuous tense, but that's actually a lot of syllables. So let's say imperfect. The imperfect tense. And you're probably thinking, why is it called imperfect? It's just a random word to use to describe past tense. It comes from perfectus in Latin, meaning like complete, whereas imperfectus means incomplete. This is an action that is not completed. It started in the past. I was teaching. I might still be teaching. Just because you were doing something or he or she was doing something doesn't mean that the action is a complete action. I know it's a weird way to think of it, but I'm just trying to explain why we use the term imperfect to describe this. Because it is like, it sounds kind of weird, right? All right, so that is the past continuous tense in English. And now in Latin, we're going to figure out how to change the endings of words to make them past tense and future tense, or should I say imperfect and future. So let's look at the summary. This is, again, caput, quinque, and nuque, chapter 5 in a nutshell. This is, you like, treat this, once we filled it out, like a addition to your noun chart. The same noun and verb chart that you've been using for a couple weeks that you're going to use on your homework again tonight or tomorrow night. Add this to kind of like as like a part of your noun chart, because it's gonna give you the same kind of information that you're gonna want to keep coming back to. So make it nice and neat as you fill this out. This is for you. It's not to turn in. We're just gonna fill this out so you have like a guide to understanding the future tense and the past tense. It's really just a series of new endings, but they're not bad endings.
I don't have
Oh, how weird. How did you not get one? Okay. That's probably Carson's fault.
I pressed it back.
Wait, it looks like you have 3 pages on your thing. Are you sure?
Oh, yeah,
It-
that's just.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Everybody else have it though?
And the exercise.
Alright. And again, as always, guys, this paper's on this table over here. So y'all's homework, if you lose it, please don't lose it. It's over here to the far left. And this thing is in a stack in front of it. All right, so we have our endings here. We also have some new verbs. So we're going to be looking at new vocab as we go over this. One of our new second conjugation verbs is maneo, maneri. And the easy way, this means to remain or stay. The easy way to remember it is like mentally add the re prefix to the front of that verb. And it looks kind of like the English word remain. And that's what it means. It means to remain. So as we can see there, they have these kind of weird looking endings that I have bolded. Again, computer people, this document is in the Microsoft Teams, the notebook page for today. So you need to go there if you want to follow along. All right, so it's still, well, can somebody tell me something about these endings? What do they make you think? Are they recognizable at all?
Oh yeah, super recognizable.
No, honestly, are they? Are they at least a little bit recognizable?
Yes, we can
Yeah.
actually. It's the OST must
Right. So it's still OST must tis int. It's just that we're squeezing in either just a B in front of the O, BI. It's mostly this BI that is being squeezed in between the verb stem and the ending. And then at the end, it's kind of weird. It's BU in T. So I wish they all had the BI, so you could say, oh, the future tense is BU, BI, and then it's squeezed between the verb stem and the regular OST must tis int. It's only slightly more complicated because the first person singular is just BO, it's not BIO, and the ending is BUNT instead of like BINT, which I guess the ancient Romans thought looked weird. So those are our future endings, and we translate it still like I, you, it, we, y'all, they, plus the verb, but now we're putting in this person's name. No, just kidding, it's the word will, right? It's not actually a name here, but it's the word will. That's how we translate it into English. Really simple, right? Is it simple though? Don't let me tell you it's simple if you're like, I don't see how it's simple. We're adding this ending in that is mostly BI, and then we're getting this future tense because of that. All right, so let's apply it to the second verb we're getting. Supero, superare. It means to overcome or to be above. Stop talking. Okay, give him the pencil, whatever. All right, so what would the ending be for first person, singular, future tense of supero, superare? What would that ending be? Anyone? What's the ending going to be? Okay. I mean, what did I? Kaylin. Yes, it's B-O. So add in that B-O. Computer kids, I'm writing this on the board right now, but then when we're done writing on the board, I'm going to click to the next screen and you're going to see all the endings. But it is just what you see right above it. So what would that translate to, Kaylin?
I will overcome.
I will overcome. That sounds motivational. What is the second person singular one going to be? Macy? Yes, B-I-S. So it's still S, like a normal second person singular verb, but now we're kind of adding this B-I. And for the ancient Romans, that made it future tense. What would that translate to?
You will.
Yeah, exactly. You, it's still the same subject as any second person verb would be. We're adding in will to make it future, that's it. That's all we're doing. Yeah. So the only way this is really confusing is if you're not fully like confident about just like regular OST must int translating. Okay, what would the third person singular be? Grace?
B-I-T.
Yeah, it'd be B-I-T. Super odd bit. And what would that translate to?
I will overcome.
You said I?
He.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He.
He or she. Or it will overcome. Okay, what is the first person plural ending going to be, Natalie?
B-I-M-U-S.
Yeah, B-I-M-U-S. Let's just do the rest of these. Super, what is the second person plural ending going to be, Macy?
B-I-T.
B-I-T-I-S. And then this weird one, third person plural, it's going to be what? Anyone? Yeah, someone said it. B-U-N-T. So that one's kind of weird. Again, because like, for some reason it's not B-I, it's B-U. I really think that ancient Romans didn't like this sequence of letters, I-N-T, like at the end of a verb. I think they thought that looked weird. So good, that's going to be who overcomes? We, I'm not going to write them all. We will, ... this will be you all will, ... and they will overcome. And that's that. That's the future. What?
Do we have to write you all?
Either way, you can write y'all, but just do that in this class. Try not to do that in another class, like for like an English writing assignment. Don't use y'all. Okay, that's pretty much it. Oh, so yeah, in my older classes before, we have said that this is the bundt cake ending. Okay, bundt cake is not spelled this way. It's spelled like, I mean, honestly, I forget, but is it like this? I think it's like 2 T's or something. Anyway, have y'all had a bundt cake? Yeah, it tastes good, right? You made one? So what? Yes. So bundt cakes, you can think of like they will eat a bundt cake in the future. And that's how you can remember the third person plural ending. All right, any questions on that? Doesn't seem bad, right, guys? So this chapter is basically, where's my spray bottle? Oh, here. is getting to just practice verbs by expanding on them a little bit. And then we're adding like 15 vocab words. Okay. But it's just 15, so it's not like we're like having to learn 4 chapters worth all at once. But yeah, I should mention that now there is a vocab quiz this week. That's the only quiz this week. It's just 10 vocab words. It's on the back of this. If you look this over real quick, we're going to go back to the front side. But all your vocab words for this chapter are printed back there. I'm going to pick 10 of those, and we're going to do a matching quiz on Thursday. These quizzes are usually the easiest things that kids do in my class because, like, it's 10 words. You can learn 10 words. You need to learn all of these words, so you're going to study by learning all of them. But then it's just going to be 10. And, yeah, kids tend to, like, be able to, like, always get A's on vocab quizzes, which is nice for your grade. And the translation quizzes are where some kids do well, some kids struggle. But the vocab quiz is something that pretty much everybody can learn. Because, like, learning vocab, it's just a skill that you can apply to, like, a lot of things in school. All your classes, like, want you to be able to, like, memorize things. So, yeah, that'll make translation so much easier. Okay, I'm going to go on to the imperfect tense. So we have a lot of BI endings in the future tense. This imperfect, which is not throwing you guys off for me to use that word, because it just means past tense basically, but you want to be accurate and say imperfect. They use BA. And the good thing about these endings, well, what is the good thing about these endings? Anyone? So it's not OST, it's MST, mustis, ent. But then what's actually nicer about these endings than the future? Anyone?
They all have an A.
Yeah, they all have it's not just that, it's a BA. Yeah. So instead of like BO to BI to BI to BI, BI, and then BU, it's just BA across the board. Yeah, it's weird we're having a first person singular verb end in M, but that's not that weird. I think the worst thing that could happen is maybe you see a first person singular imperfect verb and you almost think it's a noun or something, because we do have some nouns that end in AM. So that's kind of hard. You still have to be able to recognize this verb. But after that first person singular, it's normal. It's ST, must, tis, is. Second, third, singular, first, second, third, plural. And so to translate these, we use was and were. Okay, it goes from was to were to was to were to were to were. Not something you have to remember, because you guys know how to use was or were, depending on what kind of subject it is. Okay, you guys know that I were remaining sounds weird, just like you know you was remaining sounds weird. So you're either going to use was or were. That helping verb is technically the same word. It's just in English we conjugate it, because we do conjugate some things. All right. Culpa culpare. Do you remember what this means from last year? It'd be impressive. Anyone?
Culprit.
Well, we get culprit from it, like somebody who does something, or culpability, culpability. Yeah, so it means to blame. Good. Do we have the noun culpa culpi? If not, we're gonna get it this chapter. So we'll have a noun that's basically this word too. Okay. What is my first person singular imperfect ending? Anyone? It's obviously. It sounds like an explosion. It's Richard.
Bam.
Yeah, it's bam. It'd probably be pronounced more like bomb, but if it helps remember it, like it sounds like the onomatopoeia for explosion. And that would translate to what, Richard? Not I will blame, because it's past tense, so imperfect. It's I
Did blame?
Yeah, did is past tense, but that's kind of more like it's like the other past tense. Say it? No,
I was blaming.
exactly. I was blaming. So basically, just figure out if you're needing to use was or were. It's was or were. Future tense is a will kind of thing. Imperfect tense is a was or were kind of thing. That's it. All right, second person is culpa. Anyone out loud?
Thanks.
Yeah, boss. I would say you was or were. Were, I think were. No, I'm not gonna write the verb anymore. Culpa. Think of a nocturnal flying creature.
Yeah.
Yes, culpa bots. We would say it like bots, but it looks like that. So it was. We don't say it were. And then I do want y'all to actually write the word out, because I want you to get the hang of seeing this ing ending. Now we can actually translate present tense words as like, instead of just I verb, you verb, it verbs, we can translate present tense as I am verbing, you are verbing, it is verbing. So this ing ending, we already could have gotten that, but the difference is the helping verb is not going to be am, is, are. It's going to be was, were, was. Riley?
So last year when we were reading this, Miss Smith was going over it with us, and for the it was blaming for that part, and she was like, it were blaming, like it was blaming. She's like, no, it's not. It's it were. And I was like, oh, okay then. Like,
Well, that's kind of funny. I will say, sometimes teaching, you're like talking so much in a day. It's like more than most people like talk in a day, unless maybe you're like hanging out with like friends or family or something. I don't know. Like you do so much talking, eventually your brain gets a little fried, and you just. I've done that. I've like said something. I've like insisted on something in class that ended up being like wrong, just because I was like maybe tired or something. Anyway, but yeah, it's like y'all can hear it, right? You know to use was or were. It's just like something that's in our heads from like a young age. It's not I were blaming. It's I was. So that should be really easy. It's not like you're having to remember like, oh, we use were for second singular, we use were for all the plurals. Like that is what it is, but you should be fine. Like in terms of translating this. Just make sure you're getting the ing ending and you're making it past tense, not am verbing or is verbing, but was or were verbing. Macy?
Did you like Mrs. Smith as a teacher?
That's not really. It's not really my place to. Yeah, I mean, she worked really hard, so not really my job to comment on that. I don't know. She was great. So here are the endings. Or here's the way we translate. Yeah, so this is what we already looked at. But there you go, computer kids, if you need to pause. All right, and now let me jump out of this and look at the rest of it. Every chapter adds, like, usually one main grammar thing, but then sometimes they add in, like, a little tiny thing as well. So we just look at this part that talks about adjectives real quick. There's nothing really to this. This is fine. But it mentions this, that we get these adjectives that end in R, just like we have a few nouns that end in R, like beer, ager, boer, a man, field, and boy. Now we have some adjectives that end in R or ER in the nominative singular masculine. Big whoop. It's not really a big deal. We get liber or liber rather than free, and then the E sticks around, unlike ager. Remember with ager, the E disappears after the nominative singular? Who cares though? It's not really a big deal. But here is some of the first three cases of liber, libera, libero. Right? Anytime we have an adjective, we see the nominative of all three genders. And then in pulcher, the E actually does go away. So it comes pulchra, pulchrum. The book just mentions this in chapter 5, but like you could probably go on the rest of your life without knowing this like really like well, and you'd be fine at Latin. This is just something they want y'all to know about, but like it's easy. Okay, let's translate these sentences though. What would Nautom Monet Bomb be? You might need to look at the front page, even though it's on the back page. But that sentence right there, Nautom Monet Bomb. Who can tell me the person, number, and tense of Monet Bomb? So that's the big shift in chapter 5, is that we went from just talking about the person and number of verbs to now we talk about the person, the number, and the tense. So still first, second, and third person, singular, plural, number. But now for tense, we have present, future, and imperfect, aka past tense. So Monet bomb. Where did we get the bam ending? Is that imperfect or future, Natalie? That's imperfect. What person and number is it? Yeah, it's first singular. So what would that translate to? Monet bomb if it's first singular imperfect. Natalie? Close. So you're thinking sailor is the subject. I totally get why. But actually, didn't we say this verb is first person? So the subject is what? Anyone? What? Yeah, it's I, right? Yeah, it's going to be I because it's first person. So remember, guys, it's always with Latin. If you're having to look at like basically all the words at once, it's less this like linear left to right kind of thing where you're going through the sentence. It's like you need to take in all of the sentence kind of at once to become a really good translator. That means like seeing the verb ending as soon as you're seeing that now Tom is not the subject, but the what? Anyone? For 1,000 Latin points. What case is now Tom? Natalie?
Points do nothing.
It's what? Accusative. So it's actually a direct object. So who wants to, you kind of got it now, Natalie, or what do you think? Oh, this is not remain. Oh, yeah, that's so easy. This is to mix up. This is not moneo, it's moneo. So it's not I was remaining, but I was, what is moneo? Remember what did the girl do to the teacher about the danger, the grace? So it's going to be I, because it's first person singular, was, because it's imperfect, warning the sailor, the direct object. How do y'all feel about that? Are y'all a little rusty,
Probably.
Mason?
Where to do?
Where'd I get what?
Warning.
From the fact that moneo monere means to warn. So,
So what about,
huh?
what about nature?
That's sailor. So that's where I got sailor from. Right. So it's important for both words. This is a two-word sentence, but there's still kind of a lot going on. The ending of now Tom tells me that sailor is the direct object, because it was accusative. The ending of the verb tells me the subject is I, and that it's past tense, or imperfect technically. So computer kids, I just wrote this on the board, but it's I was warning the sailor. I'll do two more. Sorry, computer kids. Poetai, vitam, agricolae, laudabant. Okay, let's not mess with poetai, vitam, agricolae yet. Let's look at laudabant. What is the person, number, and tense of laudabant? Can you tell me at least the person in number, Danny? The first, second, or third? Good. Singular, plural? Good. So it'll agree with a plural nominative subject. Is it imperfect or future tense? All these are going to either be imperfect future. No, because that'd be bunt, like the bunt cake. That'd be B-U-N-T. It's B-A-N-T, so it is good. So poets do what to the life of a farmer? Because it looks like B-Tom's the direct object, and agricolae is genitive, the life of a farmer. Well, how do we translate the verb? The poets do what? Do they praise? The poets will praise, or the poets were praising? Say it, someone? Is that Ava? Okay, yeah. Yeah, exactly. The poets were praising. Again, I just know how to use were instead of was because I grew up speaking English, and I just kind of remembered that is how we would say that. Let's see. Okay. So yeah, that was imperfect, right? Because we saw the B-A. So it helps to remember that BA is imperfect, the past tense. Think of back in the day, like BA, back in the day. This verb was happening. Magister pueros, vocabat. I already see the boys as my direct object, and the teacher is going to be the subject probably. So the teacher what? Vocabat. What tense is vocabat? First, second, third, singular, plural, future, or imperfect tense. A lot about these verbs now. Ava? It is third singular, so it agrees with Magister as the teacher. And then what does vocabulary mean, Ava? To, yeah, so it's the teacher what? Will call or was calling? Exactly, was calling. So we had three imperfect in a row, and now Tom vocabo, Danny?
What is
It's from the verb voco vocare. So, because we've had that verb, that was chapter 1, to call. So the thing about these endings is they're almost going to trick us into forgetting what the verb even is, because the verb is going to start to look so different from what we're used to that we'll think it's like another vocabulary word, right, Laura? So we need to be careful that we still recognize these verbs. That's a vocab thing. We should still be making flashcards for vocab words we're having trouble with. Don't on your refresher sheet, y'all can use that every day. I really kind of like urge y'all to do that. But I wouldn't write down brand new chapter 5 words just yet, because you haven't even had the chance to learn them. But if you're seeing old words like voco vocare, you're like, oh, I didn't remember, I didn't recognize that. You should write it down on your refresher sheet. There are always refresher sheets on the white table. All right, yes?
What chapter are we on?
5. Now Tom vocabo. That is future tense. What person is it, Richard? First, second, or third? First. Yeah, it's middle first. So it's what's the subject? No, that's what somebody thought about this one too. Now Tom's going to be the direct object, and our verb is first person, so the subject is going to be what, Riley? If our verb is first person, what's our subject? What's the pronoun that goes with the first person? A first person novel is written from the perspective of someone who refers to themselves as I, right? I. Do we all know that? First person singular, the subject is I. If you don't please go get a noun and verb chart from the white table because you're still needing to use the verb chart. So I will call the sailor. Okay, our Zoom meeting is about, I will verb the direct object, right? Call the sailor. Are y'all getting used to the weird way that I talk about grammar when I go into that mode? All right, so what? Do I need to leave it like that? All right, let's see. We still got 8 minutes, and the bell's gonna ring in like 8 minutes. So I started the call at the exact right time today. I'm just gonna run y'all's lunch thing down. Hope it's not too late. So here's the vocabulary. Let's just lay eyes on it as a class together, and then I'll probably make some slides for it to review later this week. But try to learn as many as you can, like instantly, because that can happen, honestly, right? Like you can just look at a word and be like, "Oh, Gloria means glory." Got it. Like everyone, to make y'all at ease about the quiz on Thursday, I promise I will put Gloria on the quiz. It means glory. Adolescentia, then we look at that on Friday. It means youth. Culpa, that goes with our verb. So we have the noun culpa, culpai. I left out the E. That means blame, but we also have the verb culpa, culpare. Glory, easy. Animus is spirit, mind, or soul. Chylum is sky. Think of ceiling or celestial, having to do with like the heavens. Verbum is word, like verb. And then now, instead of just may, we also have te, right, Caitlin? We're going to move you super soon. So te is you, and it's probably a direct object. It could be an adjective. We have 4 new adjectives this chapter. We have liber, libera, libero. Those are long eyes. If you want to add that macron to the eyes, that means free. Vulgar is another word for beautiful. It's basically the same word as bellis, but now it's like we have another word for beautiful. Noster is our. So we have my. Do we have your? I think we have your. And now we have our as well. And then sana means sane. And then, okay, a few more, and then we're almost done, guys. Igator is a new conjunction. It means therefore. So it's not just and, but, and if anymore. We now have igator, therefore. Pretty easy, though. It's a very distinct-looking word. It looks like Igor. We have this ending that'll show up at the end of words at the beginning of a sentence. Not really a big deal. Propter, though. I want you to put a star by propter. It is our 4th preposition, guys. It is a preposition just like NC name day. The thing about propter, though, is that it actually takes not an ablative object, but an accusative one. So we are now crossing the threshold from accusative used to just be direct object for us. Now it can be the object of propter. So propter means like because of or on account of. It would be on account of an accusative noun. So it lasted for 4 chapters where accusative was just a direct object, but now it's just ever so slightly more complicated. Basically, if you see propter, there's going to be an accusative right next to it. That's all it means. You probably won't get this mixed up with a direct object. You'll be like, oh, it's going with propter on account of the sailor or whatever it is. Propter now, Tom. A few adverbs, crosses tomorrow, like procrastinate. You put something off till tomorrow, you procrastinate. Harry is yesterday, and then tomb is then. Quando, does quando show up? That it just means when. And then we get like 4 verbs. Kano, colpo, moneo, and supero. 4 verbs, not that bad. That is what y'all are learning for this week on Thursday. I'm going to quiz 110 of these. At least some of them will be like Gloria. And what's the other easy one? Gloria. Liber is pretty easy, right? Liberty, right? Think of liberty.
Tree.
Yeah, culpa is pretty easy. Adolescentia, I'll probably put all of these first few nouns, and then I'll put some of the adjectives and some of the other words. And that's it. That's chapter 5. So let's see. We have time for 1 translation, then I'll leave you all alone for the rest of the day. Remember how these weeks work. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is very grammar heavy, and then I ease up on Thursday and Friday. We'll play Jeopardy again this week. So you just got to hang tight through the first few days of the week, where it's just a bunch of translations. Who can read this in Latin? Let's just translate this 1 sentence, and then the class will be over. Macy, can you read that, please? Iwabon? Yeah, that's a hard one to say. Chicken Boy is telling us what iware means, that verb at the end. It means to help. And he's also reminding us of this new verb, maneo, maneri, to remain. So we already know we have two verbs in here. Multi and agris eri manebant and romanos iwabant. Does anybody see something that could be our subject? This is like kind of weird, but it's not too weird. What do you think, Aiden? Romanos, maybe. I don't know if that ending is quite nominative. Romanos, the OS ending. I'm not sure about that. But it is a noun. But maybe it's a different kind of noun that isn't a subject. Is there another word that, like, almost could certainly be a subject, Grace?
Multi.
Yeah, maybe multi. What's like a little weird about that? That multi is not actually a noun. It's a... Anyone? It's an adjective. Many is a describing word. But we know that adjectives can be nouns. They do that all the time. So that would be like many, right? Many could be a subject. Like many go to school every day. Now, does it agree with our verbs? Manebant and iuwabant. Does it agree? Our verbs are what person and number, Kylie? First, second, or third person? Manebant, iuwabant. You said third? Yep, singular or plural? I think it's plural because it's in T, it's not just T. Okay, so they're imperfect third person plural. They do agree with multi as our subject. Multi is our subject because multi is nominative plural. It agrees with third person plural verbs. Does everybody follow that? You know it, Laura? Are you sure? Remember, OST must assent. I, you, it, we, y'all, they. So these verbs take a they. Many counts as a they. And by that, I just mean it's nominative plural. That's all it has to be to agree with a third person plural verb is nominative and plural. Yes?
Laura doesn't understand.
Well, I just explained it pretty well. Because yeah, that's what I
She
figured.
just wasn't listening.
Well,
Exactly.
that's
Maybe she's
rude.
not listening.
Okay, that's hilarious. All right, so many. What does moneo mean? Is it future or imperfect tense? Future or imperfect? Is it many will remain or many were remaining? Not future, that'd be bunt. Remember bunt cake like D-U-N-T, it's imperfect. So many what? Many Devin, many,
Romans.
no, many blank remaining. Will or were? Anyone?
Were.
Yeah, many were remaining in the what? Anyone? In the fields tomorrow or yesterday?
Yes.
Yeah, it's a brand new. There's a lot of brand new vocab in here. They were remaining in the fields yesterday, and what else were they doing? They were, because this is also imperfect, DA, right? DA. They were helping the Romans. So Romans, it turns out, is not the subject. It's the what kind of object? Yeah, it's the direct object. Okay, we haven't seen this accusative ending as much as like am or um or as even, but it's os there. It's the second accusative plural. So many were remaining in the fields and helping the Romans. Romans is a direct object. Agris is ablative object of in. Okay, y'all can use this last negative minute because the bell should have already rang to work on homework. Kind of tutoring this week if you want help on the homework or if your quizzes are not looking great. Yeah. All right. Oh, sorry. Yep. Uh-huh. Yeah, say bye to Ella and our other mystery person.